Ichigo awakens by Talacha. In chapter 41, the enemy moves. The living world. Orihime stared at her brother in shock. He just revealed that he knew about the other life she lived and that he could train her. She looked up at the tag on the frozen hollow's face, reading the kanji for blind on its surface. She was so lost in her surprise that her shield faded, but the hollows had a new target, her brother. But just as soon as the bottom half of the hollow duo left, it tried to attack Sora. The formerly normal human just smirked as a large white serpent with small horns appeared and sprayed acid on the hollow. As the top-shaped empty soul reeled in pain, the serpent shot forth and devoured the corrupted soul, swallowing it with ease. Thank you, Hebi-chan, Sora said as he walked towards his little sister. Come on out, you lot, he called out as the Shunshin Rika manifested themselves, each giving a small bow to the suited man. Hey, enough of that. I may have contracted you, but you're my sisters now. Has she been taking care of you? Chunos came forth and answered for the group. She still has some confidence issues in regards to combat, but she's treated us well, the spirit said with a smile. Sora nodded approvingly as the 6 fairies floated around their master and wheeled him. Sora, what's going on? Orihime demanded, tossing the cute, timid part aside for the moment to get answers. How do you know about hollows and my powers? And what did you mean you contracted the Shunshin Rika? Sora smiled gently as he pulled out more paper tags, these saying purification, and threw them at the larger frozen hollow. You know about the hollows, the Shinigami, and the Quincy, obviously. He started getting closer to his sister, while his white serpent shrunk down and wrapped around him. Well, hollows are a danger. You need to be of a specific bloodline to be Quincy, and also Reaper back in the day were not the most reliable group. This allowed a rise of group of specific trained humans to fight off the hollows, which were far more passively destructive back then compared to now. He snapped his fingers, making the purification tags erupt into white fire and consume the hollows. The exorcists, more spiritually powered humans that fought off the corrupt spirits, monks, priests, shrine maidens, and the onmyoji, each used a specialized method of spells, tools, or contracted spirits. He took off the remaining part of her hairpins to show a small, almost unnoticeable pattern that was the contract with the Shunshin Rika. The people that could become the full-fledged exorcists were few and far between, and when the Soul Reapers started to get better at their jobs, occupation sort of faded except for a scarce few. Auntie is one of those few, and she trained me after I got us away from our parents. The Shunshin Rika were meant to protect you until it was time to train you in the ways of the exorcist. So why did you take so long? Orihime asked, almost glaring at her brother as she studied him. He simply smiled and gave her an uncharacteristic noogie. Because, my darling little sister, I'm the only one in this house that does any actual work to support us and let you go to school, he said in a strained, cheery tone while Orihime was going oh repeatedly. School and living expenses aren't cheap, and I do a lot of hard work. You have your friends to protect you, and I can only have so much time off. He let go of her, letting her cradle her steaming head and giving teary puppy dog eyes to her brother. I can give you the scrolls and books to start you on your training, but you must promise to read them thoroughly and be extremely careful in your training. Understand? He asked, earning a few nods from his little sister. Good. Now let's go home. I'm starving. In Karakura High School. And that's what happened. Orihime said, filling in the rest of her friends and teammates on what occurred while they were off celebrating. You guys sounded like you had so much fun, Lucky, she said, pouting that she had to work while they didn't, completely ignoring the shocked looks on their faces. And Tatsuki was the first to bring herself out of the stunned stupor. Orihime, this is amazing. She cheered happily for her friend. If what you said is true, you could become so much stronger. Orihime giggled sheepishly while giving a cutesy smile. Just happy to help, guys, she said with a wink, somehow manifesting a small star. Unfortunately, the cheer was short-lived as they all felt 3 strong Reiatsu coming, all of which felt familiar to Quincy and the group. Keigo and the other normal classmate came over with a tense atmosphere. Hey, good or bad? Mizurio asked, referring to what they were all feeling. We got 3 new transfer students coming in, Keigo informed them, uncharacteristically serious for the moment. They seemed like foreigners and had this really bad vibe around them, aside from the Reiatsu we felt. And to put in perspective, and Chizuru chimed in, 2 of them are total babes, and I couldn't even think about fondling them. That's what prompted everyone to look at her with shock. Yeah, I was that scared, she said just as their teacher came in. All right, class, we have three transfers coming in, so try to make them feel welcomed, she said as the three new kids came in, instantly catching everyone's attention. The first was a pretty lean-built guy with metal nuts and bolts piercing in his ears, an unkempt school uniform, and bald aside from a large red mohawk. He had a feeling about him that screamed delinquent, so much that people started reveling Ichigo's thug status. The other two were girls. The brown-haired one was neater and wore a beret, while the one with green hair had a few top buttons undone. Both seemed like bad news, so much so that Keiko didn't even try to glom either of them. Introduce yourselves and find a seat, Ochi said as she stood to the side. My name is Bassard Black, and people call me Bass B. The Mohawk told the class, glaring at a certain hybrid in particular. Don't get in my way and don't piss me off. Ichigo returned the glare, already knowing this was going to be trouble. My name is Bambita Basterbi, Bertie said. And boys, don't bother. I'm not interested in boyfriends or friends at all. She finished, prompting the last girl forward. Name's Candace Catnip, and just don't mess up my luck. She told them, seeming like the easiest to get along with in a group no one wanted to associate with. Uryu and Ichigo shared a glance before sending a look to the rest of their friends. A simple message, they're going to be trouble. Garakura school entrance. The day went by relatively peaceful, aside from the tense atmosphere the transfer created. There was another hollow attack, but nothing Squad 15's grunts couldn't handle. Something that concerned the seated members. Were these lesser hollow scouts, or was something big coming? The arrival of the three Quincy just made matters worse. They kept a relative distance, but they clearly had their eyes on Ichigo and Uryu. They informed Ishin about the situation, and he advised they have minimized contact with them, something that came to a head when school let out and Basby was waiting at the entrance. Hey, Ichigo Kurosaki, the Vandaraki lead called out to the lieutenant. Word around the school is that you're the toughest in the school. Not surprising, Ichigo responded, not even intimidated by the enemy Quincy. A bunch of idiots come to fight me often. He kept walking, getting closer and closer to Basby, hoping to avoid a fight to see what his dad was planning about the situation. Prove it, the Quincy said, walking up to meet him. Fight me. The atmosphere grew noticeably tense as the two glared at each other, Basby trying to goad Ichigo and Ichigo glaring at him like an insect. Unless you're scared, strawberry. He taunted as Ichigo kept walking and went past him. Not interested, rooster. Ichigo returned as he and his friends passed by. Basby clenched in anger as the hybrid ignored him, so he decided to give him no choice. Wasn't asking, he said, just before he threw a punch at the hybrid. Anyone with enough spiritual awareness could see the reishi in the Quincy's arm as he struck at Ichigo. And you're going to regret that, he growled as his fist connected. A fist was caught by Ichigo's hand. Ichigo matched the blue arete with his blue ven. Am I? Ichigo asked before tossing his back to Ryu, who caught it effortlessly. Go ahead, I'll catch up. They all nodded and continued on, heading for the Shoten to report to Captain Ishin and get their portal schedule for the day. And you know, Quincy, for a recruitment officer, you really know how to make the wrong choices. The hybrid growled at the surprised rooster's head, who received a sharp punch to the face that knocked him back a few steps. After second pass, the duo settled into a comfortable combat stance. Now, this is more like it, Basby said with a smirk as he charged at the hybrid again, using the barest amount of his blood skills to enhance his physical abilities and not seem completely inhuman. He threw another punch at the hybrid, who blocked and threw another his own. The brawl continued on for another hour, Basby managing to get Ichigo a couple of times, but he was in much worse condition than the hybrid. Ichigo practically danced around the Quincy's attacks, delivering punches and kicks in precision areas that kept weakening the elite. As it went on, it was clear who the victor was going to be. You want to call it quits yet? Ichigo asked, whipping some blood from the corner of his mouth, a result from a punch the Mohawk man made. This has gotten boring, and I have somewhere to be, Basby growled fiercely, ignoring the burned ash of his many bruises and cuts. Shut the hell up, he yelled, charging at Ichigo again, unconsciously channeling his hit. I don't get it. How is he beating me? He thought in frustration as Ichigo shifted the punch away and striking the lead in the gut. I'm one of the top soldiers in this army. I'm stronger than this runt, and that's why I have my My script, he thought as Ichigo punched him across the face. If I could just manipulate the he froze, realizing now a vital point. He was strong, a master in racial manipulation. That was his main skill. Ichigo Kurosaki wasn't tied down by those restrictions, and he took full advantage of that. He was faster, stronger, and more skilled. Screw it. He thought, refusing to go down without landing a major hit of his own. He poured his power into a blue artillery punch aimed right at Ichigo's face. The blow connected with a loud crack. He smirked in his victory before coughing up blood. Nice punch, Ichigo said before pulling his fist away from the doubled over Quincy. Mine's better. He rolled his neck around and began to walk away. Thanks for wasting my time, Rooster, he said, heading for the Shoten. Urahara's Shoten, central base of Squad 15. Ishin already informed me about the Quincy at the school. Ishin told his son while doing his never-ending mountain of paperwork how they are likely trying to spy on you, or at least convincing you to join the ranks. He put down his pen and gave his son and lieutenant his full attention. And then you went and beat the crap out of one of them. Ichigo nodded as the Kurosaki had an intense stare down. The less combat-oriented members of the squad watched their first and second in command coldly stare at each other. That's my boy, he yelled out in his ridiculous fatherly pride, clearing the tense atmosphere as Lisa brought more stacks of paper. In all seriousness, though, this is troubling Ichigo. You can't drop your guard around them, especially not the girls. Don't worry, Dad, Ichigo told his father, expelling himself from his body. There's no way I'll spill any secrets that we have now. Considering the training and abuse we've put you through, I don't expect you to break under that kind of pressure, Ishin responded. It's not Baz B I'm worried about. You're stronger and smarter than that. It's the other two I'm worried about, he said, taking a serious look. Too often are the beautiful things that kill with poison. They may attempt to seduce you, Ichigo. That is why. The very background seemed to change into a crudely drawn version of itself while he pointed at his son. To make you immune to feminine wiles, you must be sexually satisfied. What? Ichigo screamed in his head, leading to the two Sangetsus to argue over the merits of the idea. Everyone else just seemed to sigh terribly at their captain's antics. They must think you're a helpless, easily tempted virgin, so they'll try to seduce you. So you must be the seducer, Ishin continued unashamedly. Captain's orders, get some knighting. In fact, hey Lisa, he called to his secretary, unaware of Ichigo's rising anger and clenched fist. Welcome to volunteer. Certainly, sir, the vice had responded, slipping off of her sailor outfit styled Shinigami uniform. Ichigo's anger peaked and he punched his dad in the face and through a wall. The hybrid glared at the perverted Soul Reaper. Disregard those last orders, Ichigo said, using his authority as lieutenant to restore order. Captain Ishin was just spouting nonsense. Lisa seemed to look disappointed, but it was too subtle. Did he give Uryu the same orders? He asked, prompting Lisa to shake her head. No, he just assumed the third city, Ishida, is asexual. She answered, prompting Ichigo to sigh in annoyance. And this goofball is still a captain, he groaned just as alarms started blaring. That can't be good. Ishin came back into the room as the Hiyori burst in, looking oddly disturbed. Just got done fixing the minority systems. She panted out between breaths. Two hollows in the park. One is definitely a Vasto Lord, she said, shocking everyone in the room. Vasto Lords were the strongest among hollows, enough to give captains trouble. Hiyori, who's at the park, and called them back immediately. Ishin ordered quickly. Ichigo, let's go. Tatsuki has already engaged them, she said, prompting father and son to bolt. Karakura Park, Tatsuki's team. Tatsuki was running a sweep through the park, keeping an eye out for any hollow or pluses. Lately, there were fewer and fewer hollows which had split a good portion of the division on whether or not this was a good thing. Tatsuki was being one of the more cautious members of the division and was keeping her eyes peeled for anything. She was doing her second sweep of the area when it happened. Two monstrous Ryotsu appeared out of nowhere and slammed into the ground, cratering it with its force. Acting quickly, her unit and herself made their way to where the power was created. A crowd was already forming around the crater, filled with curious and worried people. Orders, ma'am, one of their soldiers asked, but she practically froze. These two were out of her league, and she knew that much from the racial pressure pressure raining down on her. She powered through the pressure and saw this giant. He was bigger than Chad, with tan skin, ridges on his head, a large hole in his chest, and a skeletal jaw on his mouth. He had He had bushy eyebrows and sideburns with a large dark ponytail and red markings under his eyes. He wore white hakama pants and a white jacket that he left open, revealing his muscled body. Everything about him fit the description that Urahara gave about the Rankar. This was it. Aizen was making his move. So, where am I supposed to find this Kurosaki guy? I'm supposed to fight him, he said in a deep tone, shaking Tatsuki out of her stupor. Hey, Ulquiorra, you're the expert on him, right? He called down to his companion, who soon came out of the crater. Get everyone out of here, Tatsuki ordered quickly and urgently. Evacuate the entire park. Normal humans, pluses, and other soul reapers. Just get them out of here. As much as the big guy scared her, his smaller companion was far more terrifying. Bone white skin, piercing green eyes, teal lines going down his face like tears, and what could only be described as a broken horned helmet resting on the left side of his head. He'll find us, the now identified Ulquiorra stated, deep but softly. Especially with that entrance you've made. Yami stretched his neck and surveyed the fleeing populace. Might as well have a pre-fight snack. Yami grumbled before he started to take a deep breath. When that happened, Tatsuki felt a pull on her soul, and as she saw many others beginning to lose theirs, thinking quickly, she shot a fireball right into his mouth, which then exploded. Ah, bitch! What the hell was that? Yami roared in anger. That would be Tatsuki Arisawa, Ulquiorra said, looking right at the human. She's an empowered human that seems to manipulate her reishi to act as fire. She's close to our target. What do you two want with Ichigo? She demanded, setting into a fighting stance and doing her best not to collapse. Ulquiorra stepped forward, getting in between her and Yami. Lord Aizen wants more information on Ichigo Kurosaki and send the two of us, he answered, sensing two stronger presence heading their way. Yami is here to fight, maybe even kill him, while I'm here to simply observe. So how pissed do you think he'd be when we come by to find this little lady dead? Yami asked with a demented sneer on his face, already planning on eating Tatsuki's soul. Very. They heard a voice say before Yami got kicked in the face. The larger Onrankar was sent tumbling while Ichigo rose to his full height. Ishin appeared behind Tatsuki and placed a hand on her shoulder, shaking her from her frozen fear. You did good, Tatsuki, he said, gently but firm, leaving no room to argue. Now get out of here. We got this, the captain said as he prepared to face Ulquiorra, who was already in front of Ichigo. So, this is how strong you are now, he said, examining the hybrid with zero malice. You've really changed, Ichigo. Ichigo responded, feeling creeped out by the interest the Rankar was showing in him. When the white hollow words registered with him, he started to focus again. Do I know you? He began to ask until the two locked eyes with each other. Ichigo felt a memory way back in his mind. Pull itself free from the mental depths. Ulquiorra, is that you? He asked, surprising everyone but Ulquiorra, who seemed to have the barest hint of a smile. It's good to finally meet you again. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers, East versus West. An intense argument was brewing in the Kuchiki Manor, a debate laced with frustration and anger between the two leading men of the Kuchiki and Shiba. Ishin sat across from Byakuya, ready to continue the argument between the two. The most important thing to decide on before continuing with anything else. Ichigo and Rukia, the two meant to marry, could do not but sit idly by. She should wear a wedding dress, Ishin stated, using passion to fuel his side. She's marrying to my family, and Masaki and I dreamed of passing down her dress to our daughter. It should be the traditional kimono, Byakuya said stoically as ever. It adheres to a tradition, and Hisama would be glad to have Rukia wear hers. The argument continued as neither side would yield. Did he even get to have a say? Rukia moaned, not liking that her dress choice was being made for her. Ichigo could only wrap his arms around his fiancée, while the two men bickered like children. Let's just ask Mom, he said, choosing the more sensible option. The new SMA. Okay, since Ichigo and I are here anyway, we might as well make the best of the situation. Uryu informed the Shinigami Men's Association members. He was currently dressed in the same manner as the other members, open jacket hanging on his shoulder and a pair of sunglasses in the same make of his usual glasses. There were muffled cries of agony from Ishin getting beaten by his son in the other room. While Ichigo vents our collective frustration at Ishin for the next hour, what are the important things I need to know? He asked, prompting a bunch of confident smirks. Here with the Men's Association, we strive to to explicitly and improve the life of the men in the Serete. Iba announced proudly, earning an applause from the other club members. Would you remain unimpressed? So, what have you done to do that? He asked, causing them to sweat nervously. We work to find the truest expression of manly, Iba yelled at. By doing what? Iba asked, getting more annoyed by the second. Next on the agenda was designing a man's phone. Yes, Yosuchi informed Quincy. How does that help the cause? Uryu growled in frustration. A macho man must have everything be as manly as possible, Iba answered with full confidence in his cause. Plus, this is the only thing we can afford to do with our current budget. Yatsuchika handed Uryu the budget reports for the Men's Association, resulting in a large, bulging, throbbing vein in Uryu's head. 90,000 kan, he yelled at the low price, making everyone else in the room shrink in fear. Who handles the budget? All hands slowly pointed to Iba. Do any of you do anything? Uryu growled, making them slowly shake their heads. 5 minutes later, Iba lay in a crumpled, broken heap. Ishin was covered in bumps and bruises. The rest of Shoshin writhed in agony aside from Ukitake. And Ichigo and Uryu were whipping blood off their hands. Okay, changing things. Uryu stated calmly. First order. Ishin is now our president / scapegoat. I will be handling the management side of things under the guise of the treasury, and Ichigo is now our poster boy. All in favor? The room was filled with moans, most of disapproval. Motion passes. Good meet everyone. I need to fix our budget now. End of chapter 41.